I'm turning round, round, following my feelings crazy, narrow bound, searching for brothers in arms.
Le chagrin pro le pro. Hey, oh, oh. Le de la trois viendra bientôt. Hey, oh, 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 clocher, nous mettrons, claquant dans le vent, notre fanion. This was one of the first songs I sung in French Guyana in 1985. Hello, friends of the French Legion. I am greeting you. No coffee, no brookie. Excellent. It's coffee. Yeah. So, by the way, before I start the clip, this clip is for you. If you want to do something for me, go to the description of the video. You will find my merch link and click on it and choose one part. Thanks for helping me out. So the question was, Thomas, you spent so much time in the French Legion and you learned a lot of things, and you spent so much time within the private security and you learned certainly a lot of things. Could you cope as a private security member with all the stuff you learned within the French Legion? Has this be useful or not? So let me talk about my time in the French Legion and my time in the private security. My first job in the private security, my first big job was Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. I spent there 4 years to protect the delegation of the European Commission to Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. And it was a good job. The ambassador was the Irish gentleman, what was his name? Savage, Bernard Savage. Hello Bernard, I'm greeting you on my channel. You are very welcome. Everybody's very welcome on my channel. And we have to make two different things. First thing was residential security, guarding his home, his house, his wife, everything around the villa, you know, where he was living. And the second was close protection team to make sure that Mr. Bernard Savage is protected from all parts, you know. Of course, as a soldier, you learn about military tactics. You learn about weapon, armement, that's what we call a weapon in France, ammunition, a little bit about strategic items, a lot of NBC, nuclear, biologic and chemic, a lot of camouflage, you know, how to hide, how to escape, how to deal with the enemy, how to deal with stressful situations, yeah, how to behave in combat, how to deal with radio communication and all this stuff, you know. And we also learned hand-to-hand combat. Our boss there in Riyadh has been Martin. Martin was a British guy, and he was a very experienced close protection officer. And for the 4 years in Saudi Arabia and Riyadh, I did not make any course with diploma. But, and here starts the instruction and the training that took place with Martin. With Martin, we went a lot of times shooting at the shooting range in a little bit outside of Riyadh. They had a special forces unit, a Saudi special forces unit, and we knew very well the commander of this unit, and we went twice a week for shooting there outside in the desert. And within our compound, we lived in the Arabian Homes compound. We had a big terrain, like a football terrain. No, it was a volleyball terrain. And Martin taught us, legionnaires, and all the other ones, how to deal with protecting our client, Bernard Savage. So we put our armored car at the field. One of our buddies has been designed to be the ambassador. You are the ambassador. And 1, 2, 3 of us has been the close protection officers. And then Martin starts to teach us how to protect our client. as a security guard, as a close protection officer, while moving. You know, imagine that you have a car and the car has been blocked somewhere on the road and you could not go on moving with the car, and then firearm shooting, RPGs shooting, and we have to get out the ambassador of the car. We have to protect him, bring him behind us, going to the front. Yeah, the different scenarios, you know, and all these things Martin taught us very well and very efficiently, I would say, and so on and so on and so on. And all the time we spent, all the 4 years we spent in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, we also had gentlemen coming from England, and they have been in the British Army, most of them in the British Army, and a lot of them has worked for private securities before coming to Riyadh. We had one guy who was the bodyguard of Salman Rushdie. You know Salman Rushdie better than I do, and so he was working for Scotland Yard. Our bosses has been from Scotland Yard, former Scotland Yard mates, and they taught us a lot. They told a lot about private security, how to deal, what to do, what not to do, how to behave, how not to behave, and all this stuff. You know, this is kind of talking from eye-to-eye contact, talking, relating experience, sharing experience, compare the experience you have done with the French Foreign Legion, and you know, it's also a big point when I have been in Saudi Arabia. I learned language. I learned Arab, to speak the Arab language. And I had a teacher, and twice a week I went to the teacher. In the evening I went to see him, and he taught me the Arabic language. So I know how to talk Arabic in daily conversation, on daily conversation level. And this is also a big point. And it's very important when you are a man from the private security to speak languages. So my mother tongue is Germany. I learned English. I learned French within the French Foreign Legion, and now I had a fourth language, and the fourth language is Arabic, and this is very good, you know. And this is for a man working in the private security is necessary. It's absolutely necessary to speak at least 2 languages very well, you know. And afterwards, actually, I'm in Sweden. I learned Swedish, so this will be my 5th language to learn, and this is very good. In Riyadh once, I decided to go to the old market, to the old souks, the old town of Riyadh, and I let grow my beard. And the day I decided to go, I put on the oldest clothes I could find, and I mixed within the population in the old city of Riyadh. It was a dangerous place at this time for a foreigner, for a European guy, European gentleman. It was a dangerous place because just before we had the bug with the deal with the Mohammed caricatures. It was a bad thing. Some Danish painter made some Mohammed caricatures. It was not good, and Riyadh was a melting pot of Arabs not happy with Europeans. So for me it was a dangerous place. But you know, I'm a little bit brown, and I let grow my beard, and I put on old clothes, and I could easily pass for an Arab, you know. And I met a lot of Hindis, Pakistanis, Filipinos, Arabs coming from foreign country, you know, Egyptians, Lebanese guys, and it was great. It was great. And this is also an experience you have to encounter when you are in the private security, being among them without being detected, not being one of them, you know. So my time in Riyadh passed very, very quick. And once we had Mr. Bill Gates appearing there, he wanted to buy the Four Seasons hotel chain. I don't know afterwards if he did, whatever so. And the bodyguard of Mr. Bill Gates was an ex-legionnaire. What can I tell you? At least he was the guy who came before Bill Gates, and he inspected the way from the airport, King Khalid Airport, to the hotel. He inspected the hotel, and that's the place where we met. And they say, "Hello, I know you. You have been in Guyana, in French Guyana, 1985. Hello, how are you?" Okay, and yeah, we have been a bunch of legionnaires there in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. We had a very good time. So we made close protection for Bill Gates, and 4 years in in Saudi Arabia passed like seconds. For me, it was like seconds, you know, very, very quick, because we lived a lot of adventures, as you can imagine. Later on, I managed to go to Poland to make a F.P.O.S course, first person on scene, you know, all around healthcare, you know, in operations, territorium and all the stuff. You know better than I do. F.P.O.S is almost mandatory if you want to work in the private security worldwide, F.P.O.S. And afterwards, I moved, as I told you, to Haiti. I moved to Israel, no diploma necessary. And then I started with, I started as a close protection officer in Yemen. And therefore, I needed to go to Paris and to Marseille, because after the 4 years in Yemen, I worked also in the counter piracy on ships, on tankers and oil tankers, you know, freight ships. And I needed a couple of diplomas I could not do within the French Foreign Legion, you know, completely different stuff, you know. Firstly, the F.P.O.S, first person on scene, then the MSO, Maritime Security Officer, SSO, Ship Security Officer, CPO, it was CSO, Company Security Officer, and all this stuff, you know, a lot of diplomas costing a lot of money, but the company paid for it. You know? The company paid for it, and it was, it was perfect. So I worked also for, or as a privately contracted armed security personnel on boats, you know, for the counter piracy and cruising, on ships cruising east of Africa, Somalia. Was a very interesting time. But let's go back to Yemen. We had 2 teams working there. In all the teams, we had a lot of legionnaires. I worked with legionnaires in the private security. I met them everywhere. And in the second week in our presence in Yemen, we had to go to Fujairah. Fujairah, it's close to the Gulf of Persian Gulf, and we learned how to deal with ships, where you can put whatever, where you can put some explosive items on the LNG tankers to blow them away. And this is a must learn for us, because we have to prevent such events, you know. We have to make sure that when the ship leaves the port, the haven, that there's no explosive device on board. This was our job. But if you want to do this, you have to know where people are able to put all these engines, you know. I'm talking about EIDs, you know. And it was a time very useful, because we learned a lot of things. We learned all about navigation, we learned all about ships, we learned all about LNG, we learned all about some techniques used by whatever couple of terrorists who are likely to blow up the ship. And these are such experience you can only have when you are in the job, when you're working a little while for a private security company, when you are surrounded with men having a lot of knowledge. Yeah, and it comes drop by drop. All the elements are coming in your hands, so that you can go on being a good close protection officer, being a good private contracted armed security mate, being a good bodyguard, and so on and so on. So let's go back to my time within the French Foreign Legion now. The experience I took from there is all the things I learned within the French Foreign Legion has been very useful and necessary for my further career in the private security, you know. And I think the most important skill I took from the French Foreign Legion was, of course, the handling with weapons, the handling with ammunition, the handling with all kinds of guns, you know, the handling with men, you know, looking for de-escalate, not to escalate, but de-escalate, what means looking for a good communication between men, the handling with the enemy, how to treat the enemy, because we also, when you are a soldier, you have to act following a code d'honneur. Ours was the code d'honneur du légionnaire. Then how to use and how not to use your language skills. So in the French Foreign Legion we talked in the first row, in the first line, French, because talking other languages has been forbidden, but secretly when you are not on duty, when you're out of service, you talk also German language, the English language, and this makes that you can talk all three languages without problem. You being 2 years in the French Foreign Legion, I talked perfectly French, the French language, perfectly English, and my mother tongue. You know, it was a mix. You know, I had mostly in my time within the French Foreign Legion, I had German friends, I have English friends, a lot of Americans, a lot of French guys. You know, it's kind of story that French cannot hire within the French Foreign Legion. This is true. So what are they doing? There's a French joining the French Foreign Legion. You just tell them, okay, I have lost my passport, but I am coming from Switzerland, you know, or I'm coming from Canada, I'm coming from whatever, Siebenbürgen, or a country where people speak French, you know. So then he's in, you know. But the commanders in chief, they know very well that this guy is a French guy. So okay, so you have two different worlds. The first is the military world and all around it. You know, French Foreign Legion is genuine. You know, I'm not clear with the idea saying that the French Foreign Legion is just an army. No, it's not. I talked about this later on in one of my latest clips. The French Foreign Legion is not just an army. It's an institution, and it's a very unique institution. So let me go back to Riyadh, Saudi Arabia one night. I was within the RST team, a residential security team, and our job was to protect the ambassador. As I told you before, it was the Irish guy, Bernard Savage. Once I was sitting in my guardhouse. It was about midnight, so largely after 11 p.m. And I heard some noise. Somebody was marching towards my guardhouse, very quick, you know, boom, 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 boom. I was alerted, high alert. Then somebody opened the door and somebody appeared in my field of sight. I immediately stood up. It was a second. I draw my weapon. It was a USB from Heckler & Koch. I load the weapon, finger on the detent, and I aimed. It was the ambassador, and he was telling me, Thomas, by the way, can you make sure that tomorrow 10 a.m. the Philippine guy has to come here? Crazy. You know, I had the finger on the, I cannot find the word in English, the tent, you know, Abzug in Germany. I had the finger on the detent. It was like a millimeter. You know, millimeter, and I almost shot the ambassador because he did not respect the rules given by our boss Martin. And this is what I learned in the French Foreign Legion. Find a solution, make the difference between enemy and not enemy, friend or terrorist within a second. A decision like this, 1 millimeter, you know, being clear in your head, not taking drugs, not drinking too much. You don't drink when you go to work next day. This is a rule, 8 hours before, and all the stuff, you know, and all the stuff. I was in war, I was in operations, and I have seen collateral damage. And most of the time, when collateral damage happened, it have been done by people who don't know, couldn't make the difference. Yeah. For them, everything was gray zone, gray man. Everything was enemy. Everybody was enemy. Go for it. But this is not okay. Yeah, you have to make the difference. Yeah, and when you think the enemy is there, you have to look twice. You have to confirm with your bodies. Do you see what I do? Yeah, but sometimes you are in situations. Within 1 second, you have to decide by yourself. You cannot ask your body. And this is what I learned in the French Foreign Legion. You know, be always very clear in your head, in your mind, in your decisions, in your hesitations also, you know. This is it's a very important thing to judge, the judgment as a human, the judgment as a military. Le chacal crânien po la po, hey, ho, ho. This song has a German background, yeah. And I have another song for you today, and it's Dans la brume, la rocaille. And Dans la brume, la rocaille was the song of my company, the 3rd company of the 3rd REI, Troisième Régiment étranger d'Infanterie, Dans la brume, la rocaille. And I will sing it to you. I will sing it for you. Dans la brume, la rocaille, le jaune tu combat. Malgré l'ennemi, la mitraille, le jaune tu vaincras. Malgré l'ennemi, la mitraille, le jaune tu vaincras. Yeah, and our song of the regiment has been, yeah, Anne-Marie. Yeah, Anne-Marie. Okay, so we have to make the difference. We have Anne-Marie 2 and Anne-Marie 3. It's a huge difference, but I will sing this for you next time. By the way, as you know better than I do, my old English channel has been destroyed, so I do not have the control over it. Somebody else have. YouTube cannot help me. Google not either, whatsoever. However, for what reason ever. And I am on the way to build a new channel. This one, it's for you to serve. And I need about 150 more subscribers and about 1 million thumbs up. So maybe you can deal, share my channel, share my content, talk about me, would be so helpful for me. Great, you're great people, great gentlemen out there. Can you do this for me? Great. So sometimes when you are out in the field and somebody shooting at you, I'm talking about my time when you're a soldier, but also when you are a private security mate, somebody shooting at you, shooting at your convoy, shooting at your infantry troop, and automatically you return fire. But sometimes soldiers commit collateral damage because they return fire not knowing who was shooting and from where the bullets are flying, from which direction exactly, from which position exactly. And as a soldier, you need the skill to hear what kind of weapons are shooting, to detect where are the shots coming from, and maybe to be able to find out within seconds who is shooting there. Is it enemy? Or is it maybe friendly fire? You don't know. You never know. And if it's friendly fire, by error, and you return fire, you have double collateral damage. You know what I mean. Yeah, friendly fire. And this is the greatest bullshit you can live as a soldier. And it's the greatest Irrtum you can live as a private security guard. And I was testimony of both things. This is very hard stuff to cope with, Yeah. And what I learned in the French Foreign Legion, maybe one of the biggest points for me, a thing I used, was very useful for me in the private security later on, it was how to fight fear. I have never met a legionnaire who is not afraid prior to going to combat. Of course you are afraid. Of course you know what fear is. And fear can save life. Fear can save your life. If you're not afraid, you will be a hero. And the heroes are the first soldiers or mates who will be killed in the field of action. You need a good portion of fear. You need to be afraid sometimes to be able to live longer. And this is what the French Foreign Legion teaches me also. You know, not being a dickhead, oh, hurrah, attack, no, never, we don't fear no enemy. This is wrong behavior. This is wrong behavior. And I always told my buddies, my legionnaires, hey, keep your ass down in critical situation and we will see afterwards. And sometimes it's necessary to calm the troop, to calm the legionnaire, because you have hot-blooded legionnaires who want to storm the enemy immediately. And sometimes it's your job to say, hey, stay back, keep your ass down. We have a mission and we have to fulfill the mission. This is important. So take it easy. Have a little bit fear, have a little bit of that's what I call in German, Demut, in front of the enemy, because you are not always confronted with an enemy who is stupid. Maybe he's as intelligent as you are, maybe more. Maybe he has as much skills you have as a soldier, maybe more. Maybe in front of you, you have the better fighter. So you have to calm down, you have to analyze the situation, you have to think twice sometimes. And it's what I learned in the French Foreign Legion also. And within the French Foreign Legion, when you encounter the enemy, we always respect the enemy. We always respect the enemy and we act following the code of honor of the legionnaire. Code d'honneur du légionnaire. You know the code d'honneur du légionnaire? Légionnaire, tous un volontaire servant la France avec honneur et fidélité. You know this? Maybe it's a good point to learn the code of honor of the legionnaire prior to join the French Foreign Legion. Will be a big point for you. Imagine you knock on the door in the Pill of Strasbourg, maybe. Caporal chef open you and you say, bonjour, caporal chef, je veux bien m'engager à la Légion étrangère. And you're saying this in perfect French. And then you say, légionnaire, tu es un volontaire servant la France avec honneur et fidélité. Chaque légionnaire est un frère d'âme, quelle que soit sa race, sa nationalité, ou you know what I mean. You know what I mean. This will be a big punch, a lucky punch for you. The caporal chef will have a big smile on his face. He will open the door and say, come in, we need you. We need you in the French Foreign Legion. Learning the code d'honneur, the legionnaire, by heart. This is your job. And I order you to achieve this job until next week, okay? So Google code d'honneur du légionnaire, and then you have the 7 paragraphs and you learn the code d'honneur by heart. This is your job. This is your mission for next week. I hope you can cope with, right? And my mission is to give you answers to all your questions. And I will make sure that I'm a little bit more present on this channel to give you answers, to reply to your questions in time, and to help you out if you have any problems, any question, anything around the French Foreign Legion or private security, or also any question from man to man. You know, this is very important. I'd like to have a channel in which we are very close together, like brothers in arms. This imports to me. It's very important, right? So I wish you a good life. I wish you good luck. I wish you everything what you wish yourself for you. My mission is to tell you that war is bullshit. We have to stop war. War is not good. And yeah, amici legionnaires, thanks for your presence here on my channel. We see us. Bye bye. Tack så mycket. Tack så mycket. So I'm talking Swedish with you now, you know. Tack så mycket. We see us. What means we will see us. We see us. We will see us very soon. Tack så mycket. Thanks for everything you can do for me. Bye bye. Song? You want a song? Contre le Viet. It's a chant of the 2nd company, of the 2nd rep. It was in my time. Contre le Viet, contre l'ennemi, tout le combat fasciné. Soldats de France, soldats du pays, remonteront vers la ligne. Oh, légionnaire, le combat qui commence. Mais dans nos armes, enthousiasme vaillant, pleuvoir, renards et gravats. Notre victoire en aura plus d'éclat. Pleuvoir, renards et gravats. Notre victoire en aura plus d'éclat. Vive la France, vive la Légion étrangère, vive les paras, vive les parachutistes, vive le 2nd rep, 2e régiment étranger des parachutistes.
Searching for brothers in arms.
Yeah, some people might say Thomas Gast is crazy, but let me tell you one thing. Yes, he is. And this is a big point.
Here we